Welcome to the SomerKnits podcast. I was hoping to film a WIP Parade today, but I am quickly running out of time. So I'm gonna see how far I can get through my works in progress and tell you what my plans are with them. It may not be everything, but I'm gonna do my best. If I rush through something and you have a question, please don't hesitate to ask in the comments, and let's get going. I know all the podcasters are talking about fall, and I mentioned this on my last podcast, and everyone is saying happy fall. And I have had my first pumpkin spice latte of the season. Might be my last store-bought one because I'm not into how overly sugary they are. But it is also 92 degrees here right now and it's hot. So just not feeling the fall vibe right now. I'm not able to do like diving into fall type podcasts because I'm just not there yet. It is starting to get cool in the mornings and I do appreciate that, but I have to close the windows by like 9 a.m. Otherwise it's way too hot already. I'm going to start with my oldest WIPs and work my way forward. I think I may get some out of order. However, this does not include any WIPs that are so far buried I have forgotten about them. And it's possible that I have those, but I've run out of time to go running around and digging for them today. So I'm just gonna do the ones that are kept in my active WIP basket, even though you'll notice that some of these WIPs are not active. And at least one of them, probably only one of them, I'm going to frog. And I'll tell you why when we get there. And actually it's the first one. If anyone remembers this bag, this is my Megan Makes Do bag and I love it. And it holds a WIP that I love, but I'll tell you why it's getting frogged. So this is my Stria cardigan. And I still want to make it. I still want to make it with the exact same materials. However, I realized that I had missed an increase on one side on the front. And while I could have just added that increase and fudged it, I think in the long run, I would have noticed and it would have really bothered me. Like just sitting here looking at the yoke on the table, I can see the missed increase and it's a problem. Also, I think I want to go a size up from what I originally cast on. I think I have plenty of yarn for that. Just because my body has changed since I started this cardigan. And if I'm going to put enough work into a garment to do half fisherman's rib for the entire thing on size 2 needles, I want it to fit now. And I'm a firm believer in knitting for, buying clothes for, making for the body I have now, not some fantasy of the body I think I'm going to have later. There's no reason for that. I want clothes that feel good and fit me right now. So I am going to frog the Stria cardigan and start over. And I'm fine with that. I really do want this cardigan. I'd love to have it done by next Easter. I know that seems like a long time, but as you know, I tend to get distracted by shiny new things and take on test knits. So giving myself quite a bit of time, but I'm gonna frog it, rewind the yarn. I'm probably going to wash the yarn that's already been knit up because it's just gonna be spaghetti and it's been knit up for so long that I just think it'll be very difficult to work with. So I'm gonna wash it, hang it dry, get it all back to nice and ready to use, and then start over with this. So that is my first WIP. And I didn't even count how many WIPs I have. So I don't know. Feel free to guess in the comments right now, and we'll see where we end up by the end of this. I'm kind of nervous to count them because I don't know if I'll feel pressure because of the number. Anyway, the next oldest WIP, there's going to be a lot of leaning, I think, because I have stuff stacked all on the other side of the table. Wow, I just heard some needles fall. I don't know if you could hear that, but I could. All right, my next WIP is my beloved Elfmail. And I know that this has been long anticipated because I now think it has been on the needles 2 years. I think it'll be 2 years this month, or it is 2 years now. That's insane. Is it 2 years or is it a year and a half? No, it's gotta be 2. So I bought this yarn at Fiber Christmas in July, I think 2 years ago. And the bright color is Mr. Peacock, Mrs. Peacock. Now I'm second guessing myself. Let's see. That's not even the right label. I'm doing really well as a podcaster today. Can you tell? I also feel like I'm already sweating, but the gray color is Ash Grove by Show Me Yarns. I believe that they have gone out of business. They were doing a going out of business sale this summer at Fiber Christmas in July. The other is 316 Dye Studios, and it's either Mr. Peacock or Mrs. Peacock, and now I can't remember. But I love the Elfmail. It's gorgeous. If you've been here a while, you might remember that it was such slow progress that I would get distracted by other things where the progress was a little bit quicker. And so I've just been steadily working on this a little bit at a time. It has not been fully neglected. I just keep plugging away. And there is that question of, is it gonna be tight? Is it gonna have negative ease now? Or will there still be some amount of positive ease or even zero ease when I finish it? But I think I'm gonna love it either way. But also, I think my daughter would wear it and love the colors. I need to finish the body because based on that, then I'll decide on sleeve length. In Oklahoma, I really do get more use out of my short sleeve sweaters than I do my long sleeve sweaters because I can wear them much longer. The cold season here just isn't that long. And I think that this would be beautiful still with short sleeves. And it's fingering weight, so I would hope to get quite a bit of wear out of it. So this is a finish for sure. I just need to focus on it. And I was thinking with some of these languishing WIPs, if you're familiar with the Marvelous Mrs. Maker, she's got some pattern designs on Ravelry and she's on Instagram. She has advice, I think she says from her grandmother, that is if there's something you want to make progress on, like set a timer, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you want your timer to be, and work on each project that you have languishing until the timer goes off, set it to repeat, work on the next one. And even though it's only a little bit of time on each project, all those languishing projects will continue to get progress, and eventually you'll be able to see that progress and you'll actually start finishing off those things. So I heard somebody use the term finish it Friday today. I might have been watching Brook Willow, but I need to set aside a day of the week where I do that. The catch comes in when I'm under a time crunch from like a test knit or something, but I just need to set aside a day of the week. Maybe it's a couple hours on a Sunday or something where I do a little bit at a time on each of my languishing projects. But this is my Elfmail. It's by Dani Miga. It's been a while since I said it, so I think that's correct. it's in a beautiful bag that I would like to reclaim. So I want to finish this project because I really love how much this bag can hold. I bought it at Fiber Christmas in July also, and it cinches closed and it can hold quite a lot. So I'd like to finish that project and reclaim that bag. Next oldest, I think, I'm pretty sure, is my Cumulus. So this one's been on the needles a hot minute. It's actually not on needles right now. This must be the needles that fell because I put it on barber cords to try on. And what I've decided to do, because I think the length is where I want it, is I've decided to apply the neckline in case that pulls it in and pulls it up at all, and then give it at least a steam block and try it on again. Since there's no ribbing at the bottom, there's no additional length really being added. I think it's just an I-cord edge. So I need to do that and then put the sleeves on. So I have definitely made progress on this. It is so soft and so pretty. The yarn is Knit Picks. Oh, I have a pen in there that got stuck to my yarn. It's Knit Picks Gloss Lace, and the Cumulus blouse actually calls for it calls for lace weight held double, but it calls for mohair. I wanted something that I thought I might get a little more use out of in this hot climate. So I went for the gloss lace, which is merino and silk. And so I'm doing 2 strands of that, and each cake was 800 meters to start with, and I need to weigh them, but I feel like I'm not even halfway through the yarn, and I may be done with the body. And I have 2 more hanks of this. So in theory, if it only takes me 2 hanks to get the entire Cumulus blouse, then I have 2 more hanks of the gloss lace weight that I could do something else with in this cobalt blue. And then I also have a hank of it in the bright, bright pink. If you're a longtime viewer, you might remember the lace weight cabled sweater that I did a couple winters ago. So I have a hank of the bougainvillea left. And then if I don't end up having to break into them, I have 2 hanks of the cobalt. And I just love this color. I just adore this color. This was our wedding color, and I'm very excited to have this. I feel like I've made some good progress carrying it around, just working on the body. This isn't a real barber cord, so it's extremely long because I didn't cut it. It's just one of those pony bead cords from Michaels. But that is WIP number 3, if we're keeping track. And it has been on the needles at least a year, maybe longer. I don't actually remember now. But it just, because it's lace weight and it's just all stockinette, it just felt like it took a long time to grow. So it was one of those things that I worked on, but like didn't prioritize. Now we're getting into, I don't remember what order some things happened. This bag is a Rows and Seams bag. It's a candy shop, and it is I think it's supposed to be a medium size zipper. I think the size is medium, little handle. Anyway, this has my first Lento in it. And I say my first Lento because you might remember that I have started a second Lento. So this Lento is a variegated mohair held with just a natural fingering weight. The fingering weight is Darn Good yarn, and it was gifted. It was sent to me not for the purpose of talking about it on the podcast or anything. I don't even know if she knew I had a podcast, but a friend is friends with the lady who owns Darn Good Yarn, and she offered to send me a box of some things to try. So this is their merino singles. So it's a merino single held with two very different alternating lace weight mohair. And I'm alternating them to get this really fun, super colorful effect. It tones down the reds in this one with the purples and blues in this one, and they both have purple in them. So that's the unifying color. And as you can see, I am to the cuff on the first sleeve, and then I need to start the second sleeve. So what happened here is I cannot find my size 6 shorty needle tips anywhere. I do not know where they are. I finally just ordered some more. So that's where I got stopped on the cuff, is because I couldn't find the size needles to go down to do the ribbing. And then I need to move on and do the other sleeve. But also, this is one of those projects where I primarily only work on it sitting at night watching TV because of having to keep the two mohairs from tangling and needing to alternate them. So I do a row with one and then a row with the other one. And so just to keep them from getting to be a complete mess, it's easier if I can set them on opposite sides in front of me, and that way I can keep track of what I'm doing and where everything is. So that is why this is languishing. But I can't even express how soft and drapey. I mean, you can kind of see how beautifully drapey this is. And while it is absolutely too hot to wear it right now, I want to wear this so bad. It is, I mean, not only do I love how bright and pretty it is, the drape and the softness of this is amazing. So a huge thank you to Darn Good Yarns for the merino singles that are underneath. And then the two mohairs came from an exchange I did with a friend. And it felt really good to grab those things from Stash and just cast on. When I cast on this Lento, I did the folded neckband like the pattern calls for and everything. So that is Lento number 1 and WIP number 4. Now I have to grab the next like big stack of WIPs and pull them over here towards me. Okay, I'm not sure exactly what the oldest is. I think it's this. This is one of my Southern Skeins project bags. I used to get them in my monthly subscription. If you've been here a while, you may know that I cut off all of my subscription things this year because I was trying to knit from Stash, still am, and to save money and be a bit more responsible. So this is like a hoe. It's a half finished object. I'm hoping that these still even fit my son by the time I bother to get around to finishing them. So here's the first sock. These are the daily socks by Summer Lee. Here's the second sock. You can see I'm actually on the heel flap, and I might even, oh, it looks like I have a bit more of the heel flap to go. So I'm a little past halfway on the heel flap. Just looking at it compared to the other one. I think, well, it's pretty close. I'm pretty close to doing the heel turn, and I just need to, do what I said and set a timer and set aside time and just get this to the point where it's an easy to carry around project again, because the heel turn is where you actually have to pay attention. And then once I get to the gusset decreases, I mean, it's a kid's sock, so it's small, and the decreases, there's not that many, and then we'll just be into the foot. The yarn is just Baracco Socks, which is, let's see, 75% superwash wool, 25% nylon. My son loves his hand knit socks, so he does wear them in shoes and he wears them frequently. So it's good to have really strong sock yarn. This also feels like it'll be really warm. And they do a lot of hiking and outdoor activities at his school, even in the winter. Regardless of how cold it is, they just have to dress appropriately. So nice warm wool socks are great for him. And he, believe it or not, because I mean, a lot of people don't think of an 8-year-old boy as like the most knit-worthy person in the world, but he is super knit-worthy. He's very careful with his knits, but also like really appreciates them and seems to get a lot of joy out of his hand knits, and goes so far as to request more. So I like making things for him because he very much appreciates it. So I feel like it is well worth the effort. Then let's see, I think these, I don't even know, they might be older than those other socks, but if you've been here a while, I've restarted these socks multiple times. And I don't know if it's just that Andrea Mowry is a much tighter knitter than I am or what, but these are, it started out as the DRK everyday socks, and now because I just knew after having to rip those almost entirely out before, I went to the Bearpaw socks, which is her fingering weight held double or DK weight version of that same sock pattern. And I knit 3 pairs of those for Christmas last year. Sorry, my nose just itches. And now I'm trying to crank out a pair for my husband, and I've been trying for like a year almost. Yeah, I just need to do them. So here's the thing. I started these, I even went down a size. I'm down a needle size, I believe, from what she uses, and they still looked so big to me that I took out 4 stitches, I think. 2 stitches or 4 stitches. Anyway, I then realized that based on my stitch counts, I couldn't quite use her heel turn. Sorry, I'm just kind of unconsciously untangling things. I couldn't quite use her heel turn instructions, and I needed to do a little maths and figure it out, or just allow it to be not symmetrical. So that's what I've done. I've allowed it to be not symmetrical. So on one side, the last set of ribbing before the increases is knits, and on the other side, the last set of ribbing before the increases is purls on this side and knits on this side. So I don't really think he's gonna notice. I mean, once they're on, it's just a ribbed sock, and the ribbing still is uniform all the way around. It's just where the gusset increases happen. And I don't know. I think it will be fine. I just had that moment of, oh my gosh, how did I not think of this? And knit the whole foot and half of the gusset increases before actually realizing what was going on. And since he knows about them now, I have paused and I want to put them on his foot and figure out if I really am at the right place to do the Flegel heel. So it's just a matter of needing to make myself work on them. It's not my favorite color of yarn. It's a great yarn to work with. This is Forest Lane Fiber Company in one of their no nylon sock bases. So this one has Tercel in it. And it's a color that is very appropriate for my husband. It's just not my color. And then the heels and toes are Regia. It's just a Regia 4-ply. And it does have nylon in it, I believe. Yeah. 75% superwash wool, 25% polyamide. So that's all. And like I said, these are the Bearpaw socks by Andrea Mowry. And I have them in my little walking and knitting bag to try and encourage myself to pick them up when we're going places. So we'll see if that works. Let's see, what else do I have? Oh, here's another long-term WIP, and this one was totally on my things to finish this summer, and I didn't even pick it up. And I feel so silly because I adore the yarn, I adore the pattern, I love it. It's just, when I cast this on, we were on a road trip, and it was not this past summer, but the one before, and I kept screwing up the lace. Like, I don't know why. I think the lace is only like 10 stitches wide or something, maybe more than that. Anyway, I kept having to undo and redo the lace over and over again, and just keeping track of where I was on that road trip, it just wasn't happening. So it got set aside in favor of something else, and I just didn't get back to it. And I think it's because it's the kind of thing I probably need to knit in the evenings when I am sitting on my bed, talking to my husband, watching TV. And yes, I knit things that I have to pay attention to when I'm watching TV, because my other knitting time is like on the go during the kids' activities. I don't watch anything super intense or where I have to read subtitles, but I'll just turn on random TV, even for complicated patterns. But I think, yeah, I just couldn't get into a rhythm with this because of constantly messing up the lace, even though it should be the world's simplest lace. And then having to keep track of every single round, because you do have these garter ridges that are under the arms. There was just a lot going on, and it was not quite the thing, I guess, that I wanted to work on at that moment in time. And I have a harder time going back to things that are already cast on than casting on something new. And I don't think that's unique to me. I think other people have that problem too. But let me know if you're a finisher or if you are on to the next shiny object, because I'm definitely distracted by the shiny object. Okay, what else do we have over here? I think we're on to stuff cast on within the last month, 2 months. We went to see the Barbie movie a little while back, and so I cast on a sock and I ran out of time, so the cuff is really short, but I just decided to knit a tube, so I just started, and it's a self-striping yarn. I just grabbed it from my stash, so it is another Regia design line 4-ply. So I think it's another 75% wool, 25% nylon, although I'm not finding it. Yeah, 75% virgin wool, so this one is not superwash, and 25% polyamide, and it should just make a stripy sock. So since it was self-striping, I decided to just knit a tube, and I'll do, if I'm not in a movie or something, I will probably put in waste yarn for a forethought heel, because that's my preference. It's less ends to weave in, and then I don't have that fear of cutting into my knitting. But if not, then I'll put in an afterthought heel. But that is not something I'm going to worry about, because it's kind of handy to have a project that I can take to a movie or do in the dark or whatever without thinking about it. And at that moment in time when we decided at the last minute to go see that movie, I had nothing at the point of just stockinette. And I can't do ribbing in a movie. I second guess myself too much. So I prefer to have something that's just stockinette in the round. And so at the time, I just didn't have anything that was at the point that I could just knit, knit, knit. So I cast on that sock. I guess this item has been cast on longer than that. So this, I say mess right now because it's all the ends to weave in, but the blanket itself is beautiful. Not tooting my own horn, it's all Laura. So Laura Penrose wrote the Sweet Shop blanket pattern. And I did the test knit over the summer, and I am still adding to mine. I want it to be not quite king bed size, but like definitely snuggle up under it size. And I'm going to actually drape it over the back of my knitting chair in my bedroom. So I went with soft colors like we use in our bedroom. I started out with mostly purples, blues, and aquas, and then added in cream and gray. And I'm using scrap yarns, so I have some different textures in there. Even there's a boucle in the white, oh, down here. There's a boucle, there's an alpaca, the pink here. I'm not doing a very good job of showing this, but the pink is an alpaca blend. And it's just all scraps, and it's not a rush, and I'm just gonna keep working on it. As you can see, I stopped near the tip of one of the triangles, so got to finish that one and just keep building. So I think right now my widest sections are 3 wide, and I think ultimately I want them to be 5 wide. And then I haven't decided how long. I think if they're 5 wide, that maybe I'll go 6 long. But it's not a rush. It's just something for me. And it's been a joy to knit. It's really addictive. The pattern itself is just, you just want to do one more and one more. And there's been some beautiful ones coming out since the pattern was published. And total props to Laura for this pattern. It's just, the construction is very clever. It's so knitter friendly. The pattern is user friendly. I love that it comes with a coloring sheet to plan it out. So this is WIP. Oh gosh, I lost count. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this was WIP number 9. But this is definitely a long-term WIP because I have so much else going on. You know, we should put those needles for that Cumulus back in their bag, or I will definitely lose them. Like, I just know that. Okay, so next up, I've shown this on the podcast recently, but I finished the leg of my second Christmas stocking, colorwork Christmas stocking of the year. It has so many ends inside it that I have decided to try the method where you braid all of your, I mean, there's so many ends in there. All of your ends down the seam. So there's a few places where, because of the color work, the seam is very loose, and I will go through and tuck in the ends a little bit just to even up that backside where you can see the join. But then all of those leftover ends are just going to be braided down the inside. And I'm hoping that that is secure enough without me having to spend a zillion hours weaving in ends. So then I just need to do the heel and toe. And this is a forethought heel. There is waste yarn where the heel goes. And then the toe, I was thinking, originally I was gonna do the heel and toe in red, but there's so much red down here at the bottom. I've got to decide though, because I think the other Christmas stocking I did, the heel and toe are in green. So I think I'll probably do the red anyway, and the bottom will just be a bit red heavy. Or I could do the toe in cream, and I could do the heel in red, because the heel will be up here. I don't know, let me know what you think. But I do think it's really pretty, and I actually feel like my color work tension was better on my first stocking than on this one. But part of that is I had trouble with yarn management during the sections where there were 3 colors traveling. So that's definitely something I need to work on. But since I'm just doing these Christmas stockings in acrylic yarn and it's inexpensive, I thought it was a good way to practice those stranded color work techniques without a whole lot of commitment. So that is, what did I say we were on? Man, it's the ADHD again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That would be 10. And then there is WIP number 11, which is a hat that I started. This is a Southern Skeins hand-dyed sock yarn, and I'm holding it double and using US size 4 3.5 millimeter needles. This hat pattern is supposed to have 3.5 inches of twisted rib, which I think I have just hit. I have been just carrying this around and working on it as and when. And I don't mind the twisted rib. I mean, it is a bit slower, but this yarn is so soft in the hands, and I can get into a good rhythm even with twisted rib, that this has been a great one to just keep in my bag. So I haven't been rushing it. It's not one for knitting in the dark, because I feel like I have to pay more attention when I'm knitting through that back loop, but and definitely when it's 2 strands. But I kind of like, even though it's not really my color vibe, I kind of like how it's knitting up. I think it's going to be a gift for one of my son's friends, and I'm totally fine with that. But it's got this nice deep rib brim, and then it goes into a textured hat body. So, and it's a really easy 4-row repeat. So even that should flow nicely, and we're just not going to rush it. Did I say that was WIP number 11? I need somebody standing here with cue cards telling me where I am, because clearly I can't do it on my own. So the next, no, hold on. I gotta go get the next WIP, because this definitely was cast on after that. This pile is getting big. Okay. The next up is almost a finished object. I mean, it's like so close to being a finished object that it's ridiculous. And now I'm gonna make a mess of it. So this project took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I can see another 15, 16, 17, 18. Might be it, y'all. 18 balls of Debbie Bliss alpaca silk. Now this, if you've watched the podcast before, you know that this was deep stash bought at Ava's Needlework in Thousand Oaks, California, back when I lived there. So I purchased it in either 2006 or 2007. And then it just sat in stash waiting for the perfect project, and then became a color that I don't really wear anymore. So I finally decided to knit it up for my sister. And I decided to do the Braided Bum Hugger by Knit-O-Matic. And so that is a cabled, oversized bolero, basically. So you knit a big, flat rectangle, and then some clever seaming creates your sleeves. So I have done that, and I have sewn the seams. I have not woven in all the ends yet because I'm a little unhappy with where my cables join, being a little bit bulky. And since that shows right at the front of the armholes, I want to work on it. This side is a little bit better than the other side. So maybe I've just pulled it a bit tighter. Maybe I need to weave the ends in a bit better to tuck in kind of that bulkiness that happens right there at the cast on and bind off edges. But basically, the whole thing just becomes this big, cozy jacket. And this is alpaca silk, so it has lots of drape, excuse me, and no bounce back or memory pretty much whatsoever. So, which was kind of the point. It's just supposed to be a big drapey jacket, but if you can see, when you put it on, the seamed edges hang right at the front of the armholes, and they are like the most prominent point of the armholes. So I need to find a way to get those a little less pokey, I guess, or pointy or sticky outy or whatever you want to call them. They're just not perfect. So I just want to work on that a little bit. My sister's birthday is in October, but she's going to be in town soon. So I was thinking I might give it to her early, so that I could give it to her in person and not have to mail it. And I think she would enjoy that too, because I kind of want to be able to explain what is this giant rectangle that then has 2 holes in it. So this is the Braided Bum Hugger by Knit-O-Matic. I will try and insert some B-roll so that you can see the whole thing standing. Oh my gosh, it's too hot to keep this on. As you can see, it's not really my color, but it was a joy to knit because the yarn is so soft. I did hold it triple. The pattern calls for a super bulky yarn knit on size 19 needles, and I knit it up on size 17 needles because it's such a drapey yarn that there was no structure at all to it on 19 needles. Also, I just must be the world's loosest knitter. I can't get her gauge on size 19 needles, but I can get the gauge she gets on 19s on 17s. And when I test knit for Knit-O-Matic, the gauge that Chantel got on 15s, I was able to get on 13s when I did the Even Easier Eyelet Yoke sweaters. So I just tend to have to go down a needle size in her patterns. The cable was super simple. I did it without a cable needle. It's on both the top and bottom of the bolero. And so this is almost a finished object. I mean, so much so that you can barely count it here in the WIP Parade. But if we did, I think that makes it number 12. But I want to be able to write this down as a finished object in September. So it is my goal this evening to deal with that, man, I'm hitting everything, that armhole and figure that out. Sorry for the crinkling, but I have been keeping all of my yarn ball wrappers this year, and I'll try and remember to show it on the next podcast. I have a big Ziploc that I'm stuffing them into because at the end of the year, I want to dump it out and figure out how many skeins or balls of yarn did I knit up in 2023. Especially since I'm trying to knit from stash and I have had some acquisitions, I kind of want to figure out, did I get more out of stash than in? Because that's kind of the goal. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not saying I won't buy any yarn, but I would like to know that I'm getting more out than in. So keeping all of the tags. It won't be 100% accurate representation because not everything comes with a ball band or a tag on it. So an example of one of those things, now we're kind of going out of order, I think. Maybe not. Yeah, we are, but whatever, is Nutiden. So we'll call this WIP number 13. Hopefully that's not unlucky, but this is my most recent test knit. This is a test knit for Aimee Sher. And it is the Weekday dress. Let me line it up better. Okay. Lay that down so that hopefully you can see the whole top. I just split for sleeves this morning and I'm only a couple rows past that, but I wanted to do a try on just because, it's so hard to tell sometimes when it's bunched up on the needles, and it was only on like a 24-inch cable. So I just really wanted to see what it looked like. So I did do a try on. I'll try and insert a picture. This is the color. I'll put it on the screen. I can't even remember how you're supposed to pronounce it, but it is a gray with purple undertones. And then the dress has cables in the raglan, as you can see, on both the front and the back. There are short rows, so the back neck is definitely higher than the front. In a couple of inches, I'm gonna stop, put it back on the barber cord and block the entire yoke. And then I'm gonna put the neckline on. And the reason for this is, since it's a test knit, I want to get a really accurate fit on the length as I go. And I feel like because putting the neckline on is gonna bring it in a little bit, which could bring it up a little bit, that I will be able to get a more accurate representation of where I am with the length if I have put the neckline on. Also, I'll just, it'll just look more finished and a little bit easier to see the finished product on myself if I've got that neckline on. So it is just a ribbed kind of deep neckband. It's called the Weekday dress, if I didn't say that, and it's been on her Instagram, so you're welcome to check that out. But I'm excited about it. I have not done much with the Nutiden I have, and that is one of my goals, is to knit up the Nutiden I have and not buy any more until I know I'm knitting up what I have. And this one, there's no mohair held with it, so this is the first time I've knit with just the Nutiden. So I'm excited to see how this goes. I am doing the short sleeve version of the dress because, once again, even in December here, there are just not enough cold days that I feel like I need a long sleeve, long-ish, it's not below the knee, but you know, a dress that could be that warm. I have a feeling that the dress itself will be warm enough that I'm gonna want those shorter sleeves, but I'll keep trying it on and see how it goes. I'm not even through my first 2 plates, and I took the advice Aimee shares on her knitting with unspun yarn video, and I wound my first 2 plates into balls with the yarn already held double to make it easier to work with. And so this is how much I still have of those first 2 plates. The dress calls for, in my size, in the short sleeve, either 620 or 680 grams of Nutiden. I only have 600 grams of this color, but I have lots of colors. So I thought about doing a little bit of striping at the bottom if I need it for length, but if there's actually a buffer in here, like a lot of designers do, I may not end up needing it. So I'm holding off on that decision. It would be towards the bottom of the dress anyway. But I have all of that left of the first 2 plates. I have not weighed the yoke since I finished it, but I'm just very excited to be doing a project with the Nutiden. I have lots of projects planned with my Nutiden. I just, I get distracted and I haven't gotten them going. I have the mohair already to hold with the Nutiden to do the tulip pullover, except that then I started looking at the tulip cardigan, and I think I might get more wear out of the cardigan, and the mohair and Nutiden I have to do that with is a dark pink. And I think that that could be really fun to have. And it's steeked, but instead of the other reinforcement methods, because it's Nutiden, you actually needle felt the steek stitches before you cut into them, which just sounds so clever to me. And I kind of really want to do that. So that's a plan for eventually. Last knitting WIP, but certainly not least, and I think this is number 14, is another Lento. So I know you heard me say earlier that that was my first Lento. Well, this is my second Lento. And we went to the Walnut Valley Music Festival, the 3rd weekend in September, and I had fully intended on taking and working on socks, which I've done there before. I definitely worked on socks, I think the last 2 years, no, last year I think I worked on a Musselburgh. The year before that I worked on socks, I think. It all runs together. But I ended up casting on a Lento thinking that would be my car ride project, okay? So, you know, I did a single neckband instead of the folded one, partially for yardage reasons. I believe I'm doing the size 3 or 4 in the Lento, and now I don't remember and I don't have my pattern in here. I ended up doing a single neckband instead of the folded, so it'll be a bit wider. And then instead of mohair, I am holding Holstgarn Titicaca, which is 100% alpaca, pure thin alpaca, with wishbone singles. I believe this is just a merino single, but the wishbone tag doesn't give you much information. And I guess it's not in this bag, but it basically just says wishbone on it, and on the back has the name of the color. That's it. There's no other information on the tag. And this came from an exchange, the same as those variegated mohairs. Same person sent me this yarn, and there were 2 skeins, but one was already balled up and the other was still in a hank. So I did alternate skeins for a bit in the body because I wasn't sure if there was going to be any variation, and I couldn't tell there was any variation. So I only alternated for a little bit and then was like, forget it, and went back to just knitting with 1 skein. So I am onto my 2nd skein, but I need to remeasure. I think I'm at the pattern length for the body. So I want to put it on barber cords and try it on, because I think it's where I want it to be. And then I'll start the ribbing, and then I'll have the sleeves to do. This Lento could theoretically get finished first because the yarn combination isn't quite as hot as that merino and mohair combo that I have going for the other one. The drape of this is just amazing. Once again, it's a singles, and then I'm holding it with alpaca, so it's just drapey as all get out. But not having to alternate yarns means the sleeves should just be so much quicker than having to focus on alternating those mohairs. I I guess I have a thing for bright lentos because this is definitely bright and the other one is bright. This one's more pink. The other one is a bit more red purple. I went back and forth on what to hold with this and ended up going for the pink, which has given me kind of unicorn vibes. I probably could have done the blue in the Titicaca and gone for a totally different vibe, but I went for the pink just because I thought it would be fun, and it is. I've really enjoyed working on this, and like I said, I started it as my car project on the way to Winfield, and I just kept going with it because the raglan increases are so easy that I had no problem carrying it to different parts of the festival and continuing to work on it without even having to really think about it. And then after the sleeve split, it was just round and round on the body, no problem. So I came back with the body about to there, and then I went to the Barbie movie again with my daughter and her friend and my son. We all went together. Anyway, because it's stockinette in the round, I cranked out the rest of the body during that second watching of the Barbie movie, and I'm really excited to have this. I don't know. I have only good things to say about the Lento pattern, even though I have not yet worn a finished Lento. I've seen so many beautiful ones that I'm very excited to finish this one. I just think it's going to be great. So what did I say that was? WIP number 14 and the last knitting WIP. And I say that because I do have a spin in progress. So for those of you who've been here a while, I can't set these down on the tablecloth because the tablecloth is light colored and there gets to be a little bit of oil or lubricant inside the bobbins. So sometimes if you set them on a light surface, you end up with an oil stain. So anyway, I have 2 bobbins of this sparkly purple that, hopefully that's focusing, my son picked out at Fiber Christmas in July. And after he picked out that 1 4-ounce bat, or maybe it was a 4.2 ounce bat, here's a paper to set it on, and we came home, he declared that he wanted a purple sweater vest. So we had bought some white to potentially do a 2-ply to kind of make it into a slightly lighter purple, or a natural, not really a white, but it was a, I forget which kind of sheep it was. Might have been Romney, and silk, and I couldn't get a consistent thinness to it. I kept getting little nubbins, and I don't know if that's the kind of silk it has in it or what the deal is, but I can't get a really thin, consistent ply with it. So I ended up ordering some purple merino, which has been so much more difficult to spin than the art bat was, because the staple length on this is so short, and it just, if I'm not paying attention, just flies apart, and then I have to fish it back out and start again. Anyway, I've got 1 bobbin spun up of this. I can't believe how well they go together. Like, just gorgeous. Stay. And then, because I have a shortage of bobbins, even though I have 2 bobbins of this and only 1 of this, I'm going to start next on one of these, and this is Wool of the Andes, and each of these is 100 grams. This is Lake Ice Heather, and so it is a gray, but it is a gray that already has purple in it. So if you look at it up close, it has purple in the gray. So I'm going to spin up a bobbin of this. We're going to do a short test of 3-ply with this purpley gray, the sparkly purple, and then the solid purple, all 3-plied together, and see if that gives the color effect that my son is wanting, because he clearly has a vision. And then once we know if that's good, he wants another sweater vest. And I asked him last night if he wanted a sweater vest with buttons, like the back to school vest that I just made him. That was another Aimee Sher pattern. But this time he wants a pull over the head sweater vest. So that's even easier because there's no button band. So the yardage requirements are actually a bit less. So I think that with all of the fiber I have now, that I can get plenty to do a worsted weight 3-ply and still make him a sweater vest. He's 8, but he wears a size 7, and a 7 is even still very big on him, like especially in a shirt. So I don't foresee any problem having enough yardage to make him a sweater vest. I know that there would be enough to make him that back to school vest again, which means that there should be enough to make a pullover vest. The yardage difference could come in if he wants it to have a crew neck or a V-neck, because less yardage needed for a V-neck than for a crew neck, but only by a little and not enough, I don't think, to matter. Anyway, I've got tons more of this to spin up. I had a harder time getting it as fine as the purple sparkle, but I still think it's fine enough that I'll have enough yardage. And then we're gonna see how that wool of the Andes spins up, and hopefully, fingers crossed, they go well together. So stay tuned for sampling on that, because he does keep asking about it, so I do need to keep cracking on that. That is my WIP parade, so that's 14 knitting whips and 1 current spin in progress. So 15 total whips. I know that there are like deeply buried whips around here somewhere. There is a chest we use as an end table in our living room that has a blanket in it that I started it was before we moved into this house. So it was at least 10 years ago, maybe more, that I originally started with the intention of giving it to my mom, but I no longer think the color fits either her house or anywhere that she might put it. So if I do finish it out, it'll probably just stay here because it's all blues. But we'll see. I'll probably ask her, but I don't know when I'll ever dig that out. It's an acrylic yarn. I think it came from Michael's or Joann's. Like I said, at least 10 years ago, maybe 12. And then I have like the cabled cuff of a stocking that I started a few summers back when I thought I was gonna do solid color Christmas stockings with cables as opposed to color work Christmas stockings. And who knows, I might, for variety, I might alternate stockings every year, who knows. But I just couldn't get into that. I don't know, I find the color work much more motivating and chocolate chippy than I found the super intricate Celtic cables to be. But who knows, I might get back to that eventually. So anyway, 14 active whips, 1 active spin. Let me know how many active whips you have or how many whips in general. Let me know if you had thoughts on the whips I have going, the things I said about them, anything. And that's really it for today because I'm very close to having to go pick my kids up from school. I really had to rush it today, but I got a lot done at home. And the house is almost decorated for Halloween and I feel very accomplished. So I'm going with it. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe. All of those things help extend the reach of my channel and I very much appreciate them. Your kind words just really make my day. Every time there's a nice comment left, it just gives me the warm and fuzzies because I started this channel in order to connect with more knitters since I don't have a solid in-person knitting group where I am. So reach out, join us on Discord. I have a Discord server, find me on Instagram. All those things will be linked below in the show notes. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope that you have time today to work on something that brings you joy.